Hello my friends, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to a slightly different view of my bookshelf. Didn't want to film in a chair today, I wanted to keep things casual. Additionally, there's a Christmas tree to the left of me, which just feels a little seasonally inappropriate, considering it's the beginning of November. I make no apologies for my Christmas spirit. I do, however, think that you're gonna get sick of seeing my pink and red delightful Christmas tree in the background of all my videos for like the next month. We're on the floor. We're on the floor, and I also coordinate with my shelves, so I just thought it was kind of fun. I'm here, though, to talk to you about 25 5-star predictions that I had for 2025. I like to put together one of these lists at the end of every year, detailing the books that I am most excited to read, in hopes that some of those will be 5 stars. Now, knowing me, I know when I put that list together that there's a big chance that only a handful will end up being 5 stars. I do like to have a list. I do like to have a central repository, if you will, of books that I'm excited to read, that I can revisit them at the end of the year and let you know how they went. So that's what we're doing in this video. I'm just gonna review 25 books that I thought were gonna be 5 stars, most of which weren't, frankly. It's gonna be a time. Let's get into it. First up, we have Out of the Woods by Hannah Bonham Young. Interesting that this was like the first book that I put on my list. Not that I don't enjoy this author. I really enjoyed Out on a Limb, which I do think that I read for the first time last year. However, she's not like my most favorite author. It's just interesting that this one was like top of the list, the first one that I thought to put on this list. Decided to put on the list. I went back and watched that video because I think that Hannah Bonham Young is really good at taking tropes that I don't typically enjoy, surprise pregnancy and Out on a Limb, and making stories that I fuck with, right? I don't typically like surprise pregnancy, but she kind of convinced me maybe it's not the worst trope ever. I thought this book would be similar because we have a marriage in trouble second chance romance, and those two things can be a little tricky for me as a reader to get behind. It's like if you broke up the first time, what's different this time? Marriage is on the rocks. Maybe you should have taken better care of it while it was fresh. I don't know. That's not a great retort there, but you know what I'm saying? I just feel like second chances are harder to convince me of, and I wish I could say that this book convinced me otherwise. I do think these are just really hard tropes to pull off. So tough one for me to describe and a tough one for me to explain because of all of the books on this list, I have least memory of this one. Remember picking it up at the beginning of the year, not being interested, setting it down, and then picking it up later and enjoying it but not loving it. And I think that's because there were some things that were relatable to me, and then other things that I just didn't love quite as much. So the premise is that our hero and our heroine are high school sweethearts. They have been together for a very long time. They married very young because our heroine's mom was, I believe, dying of ALS. She wanted her mom to see her get married and see her happy and taken care of. This has colored a lot of her life and experience. Now moving into the future, I guess you could say, our hero and heroine are married and doing very well for themselves. Specifically, our hero, he has, I think, a trust fund and also a very high-paying job. Our heroine does not have a career at the moment, and I can't recall if she never had a career or if she just presently doesn't have one, but she is trying to fundraise for ALS at the very beginning of this book. She has this big gala event and she has a dollar amount set that she wants to hit. Unfortunately, with her fundraising efforts and all of these people, paying to attend this gala, she doesn't quite hit that mark, and so her husband swoops in to fund the rest of this, fundraising endeavor. And instead of being happy about this, our heroine's really upset and disappointed because she wanted to do this one thing herself. Her husband takes her seriously, but he wants to solve all of her problems, and there's a little bit of a disconnect there. And that's kind of where our story starts, points us to some of the, cracks in the foundation of this relationship. And then we move on. The story is about these two kind of reconnecting and rekindling their romance. It's not like they've spent any time apart, truly. Their marriage is just a little rocky, and they go on this retreat with other couples. Through this retreat, they, find each other again. Our heroine, I think, finds some confidence, and I think at the end of this book, she does, in fact, find what she wants to do with her life. So, I mean, I like that. I think what I really resonated with, actually, was the heroine's journey to kind of figure her shit out. I feel like it's no secret. I got laid off at the beginning of last year, and I have been making YouTube my full-time thing since. And while I'm super grateful for it, it has put me in sort of a weird headspace in terms of my worth, my value, what I bring to the table, all of those different things. So I definitely related to our heroine in that way. But the romance itself was not something that I found particularly memorable or particularly special. I say that because I cannot remember much of what happens. I remember being ultimately satisfied that these two worked it out, but I also wasn't that into the story. I don't feel like there was honestly even enough conflict. Maybe if you're going through a rocky patch in your marriage, this might be something that will resonate with you, but I just didn't find a lot here that I found compelling. These two already love each other, they have some shit to work through, but it doesn't feel like, oh my god, the stakes are so high. And I've read books with a second chance or a marriage in trouble where the stakes feel really high. Those ones, okay, there's like a reason to tell the story, and in this one, I don't know that there was. So I gave this book 3 stars. I didn't hate it, but it was not my favorite thing ever. Another book, really not my favorite thing ever, was Dream Girl Drama by Tessa Bailey. This one, not that I would enjoy because I didn't I didn't love the prior book in the series, but I was excited about this pairing, this matchup. We have our hero Sig and our heroine Chloe. They are step siblings who are kind of into each other. They meet at a bar one night. They find this sort of instant attraction and chemistry. They don't necessarily act on it, and then pretty soon after they find out that they are in fact step siblings, or soon to be step siblings, as their, respective parents are getting married. I really wanted to like this book. I remember in my video where I was saying I was excited about this, my hesitation was that I was nervous that there would be some infantilization going on. That is in fact what my problem was with this book. Our hero really swoops in to help our heroine because she is just really, really naive and sheltered by her mom for a really long time, and I think she is wanting to get a master's or something in performing arts, something like that. In the same place that our hero plays professional hockey, is like, okay, I'll take you under my wing, you come here. From there, again, it just felt a little weird and icky, and it's not because they're step siblings, because our heroine was so sheltered. And it would have been one thing if like she had been sheltered but rebellious or something like that, but no, it just feels kind of weird. I don't know that I'm into this. And the thing about Tessa Bailey's books too is that she already writes really protective alpha heroes. In this particular story, an alpha hero and then a woman who's infantilized and a daddy kink kind of thing going, I didn't fuck with it. It wasn't my thing. I gave it 2 stars. A book that I put in this list because I just like the author is Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez. This was not a 5-star read, but it was a 4-star read. I did actually very much enjoy this, and I'm not surprised. I think it's been a while since I've had like a swing and a miss with Miss Abby Jimenez. This one follows our 2 main characters, Xavier and Samantha, I want to say. Xavier's a veterinarian. Samantha does advertising, I want to say, for like a mayonnaise company. They meet when our heroine brings a kitten into Xavier's veterinary practice. He doesn't want to help this kitten. He's like, oh, this kitten's a lost cause. The kitten is not, in fact, a lost cause and does end up, I don't want to say healing miraculously. It has surgery and it ends up being okay. But these two kind of get off on the wrong foot, and our hero is attracted to Samantha and is like, hey, let's go on a date. I want to see if we can make amends, I guess. And they go on this date. It is really romantic and lovely, but unfortunately they can't enter into a true relationship because our heroine is leaving quite soon to go and fly across the country to take care of her mother, who is dealing with early onset either dementia or Alzheimer's. And this story is really, really heavy with that particular topic. That's a recurring theme that I've seen in books this year. I think I've read no less than 4, I think 5 actually, books where mothers have Alzheimer's or dementia. And it is very, very sad, and I think it's handled better or worse in certain books. In this book, I think it's actually handled the best of all of the books that I've read. Our heroine is kind of on the front lines. We get to see what this does to her psyche, what it's like to actually care for someone with such a debilitating, degenerative neurological disease. It's really heartbreaking. I think the thing that I liked about the story was that I do think that was very, very well done, and having read their books since, can appreciate the care that Abby Jimenez took with this particular subject. That being said, I think it's tricky because I think the romance suffered a little bit. Not that there wasn't enough romance on page or that these two didn't connect. I really felt the connection. I do feel like our hero had to do a lot of the heavy lifting when it came to sacrifices in their relationship, right? Our heroine really couldn't leave. She didn't want to leave. She didn't want to get outside help for her mother, even though she had a family around her who was begging her, like, hey, I really need to get mom like a nurse or get her into a memory care facility. Our heroine was just very adamant that that's not what mom would have wanted. Our hero, as a result, had to really jeopardize his physical and mental health to be in a relationship with her. And so I was left in this tricky situation where I'm like, I really appreciate what this story is doing, but I'm also really upset that our hero has to make so many sacrifices and our heroine can't make any reciprocal sacrifices. Like, I get it, I understand it, but it was also a frustrating thing to read. I do think that romance ultimately needs to be a sacrifice on the part of both hero and heroine, so it was a 4-star, not a 5-star, but again, I think Jimenez did a really good job with this particular theme and with this particular story. It was very, very well done. Sad, ultimately. Maybe not my favorite from her, but very, very good book. Moving on to, I think, my favorite book this year. Don't want to call that because I am hoping that we have some late hitters, some late books to the party that are 5-star reads and that are favorites for me, because I fucking need that. I have not had enough 5-star reads this year, but Deep End by Ellie Hazelwood, Deep End, Ellie fucking Hazelwood spoke to me on a level that I can't put into words, I can't express. Every time I've read this book, and I think at this point it's been 3 times, just fall deeper in love with it. It is everything I wanted it to be. I put this on my list specifically because I knew it would rock my world because it's a college sports romance. And did it rock my world because of that? Yes. Did it rock my world more because of the characters and their relationship? Yes. So this book's about Scarlett and Lucas. Scarlett is a diver, Lucas is a swimmer. At the beginning of the story, Lucas is dating one of Scarlett's diving teammates. Their relationship's a little rocky. They don't really have the same sexual compatibility, and our heroine finds out that she is actually very sexually compatible with Lucas. They're into, I feel like BDSM is a bit of a stretch, but yes, those sorts of relationship dynamics. And when our heroine's friend breaks up with Lucas, she encourages Scarlet to get with Lucas. Does this happen? Yes, it does. Does this make for a lot of messy relationship drama between Scarlet and her friend? Yes. Even though she encouraged her, it's like, you know, the girl's gonna be jealous and or there's going to be some issues, and that's a part of the story for sure. This book, on a greater level, is about finding someone who sees you, who encourages you, who wants the best for you, who makes that happen no matter what. I loved this book. I really related to Scarlet and her perfectionist tendencies, her desire to have people be proud of her. There's just so much here. I could gush about this book forever. I know I'm going to be talking about this book much more as the year carries on because I do have those best of lists coming up, but this book was phenomenal, and I'm always curious to know what people like and don't like about Ali Hazelwood books, and which ones are people's, you know, more or less favorites, greater favorites than others. I know for some people this is their absolute favorite Ali book. Some people hate this book. So let me know in the comments, please, please. Let me know in the comments if you've read this book, you think of it, and is this one of your more favorite Ali Hazelwood books? Are you more of a STEMinist novel kind of gal? Tell me what you're into and why this did or didn't work for you. I'm always just so curious. I feel very similarly about Ali's books and her backlist as a lot of people do about Emily Henry's, because I do think in some ways you can look at someone's like favorite Emily Henry book and tell who they are as a reader. I kind of feel the same about Ali, so I loved it so much. It was so good. Let's talk about Rewind It Back though by Liz Tomford. This book I put on the list because I just like Liz Tomford and I've liked other books in the series. I did give this book 4 stars, and this was also kind of a relatable one for me. This book follows Hallie and Rio. They were childhood friends turned lovers, I guess. That feels like a weird thing to say when they were like high school aged, but these two dated when they were in, you know, middle school, high school. They had a connection. They were in love. I think they were each other's firsts sexually, and then they ended up breaking up, and I can't remember exactly why that is, and I think it's probably good because I don't want to spoil the book for you, but two did break up, and it was kind of a contentious breakup. I think that both are holding a little bit of resentment there, mostly Hallie, I would say. Rio, when he sees Hallie, he's like, God damn, I miss that girl. She is gorgeous. Anyway, Rio is a professional baseball player. I'm pretty sure he's a sports ball player of some sort. I think it's baseball. Hallie ends up moving in next door to Rio with a girl who needs someone else to live with her. They end up reconnecting because Rio's looking for someone to decorate his home. That is what our heroine does as a profession. So these two reconnect, and it was so sweet, honestly, just seeing these two reconnect. Loved the flashbacks. I loved seeing how their relationship initially formed, what that chemistry and connection was built on. I also really liked seeing the present day reconnection and them remembering things about each other when they have sex and rekindle that part of their relationship. Just the fact that they remember so much about the other person and it's familiar in such a delightful way. But it was really sweet. I really liked this book. Only thing that kept it from being like a complete 5-star for me is, again, second chance component is so fucking hard to do. Even with the flashbacks, I wanted more in the present day to really seal the deal with this relationship. And I also felt like some of Hallie's resentment was maybe a little bit misplaced, to be honest, with their breakup, but it was still a very cute book and I would recommend it. I do love Liz Tomford. I think there's actually still one book in the series I haven't read, and I feel like I need to do that ASAP, so it's definitely on the to-do list. Okay, this next one has no star rating because I didn't finish it, and that is Rose and Chains by Julie Soto. This one I was very excited about, and it's so interesting how much the tides have turned, I feel like, against fanfiction getting republished since this book and another one have been published. And I get it, I definitely get it, but I was very excited specifically because this was republished fanfiction and I had really enjoyed Manacled, and I was like, okay, this is gonna be good. It wasn't good though. And I don't know if the original fanfiction's good because I never read it, but Rose and Chains I did not enjoy. I can't remember hero or heroine's names. There's this idea that magic can originate in different places, I guess. I think one of the factions uses, or one of the lands, I guess, uses blood magic or heart magic. Somebody else uses, like, is it brain magic? I don't know. Like, or it could be heart versus blood. I don't know. I can't remember the specifics. To be honest, it wasn't laid out very well. It's a made-up magic system so that it could be published as not fanfiction. And then we've got hero and heroine who are living in different lands. Our heroine is basically sold to our hero auction style, I guess, kind of, and she is going to act as a magical conduit for him or source of magic for him. I didn't get very far past that. The problem with this book was, in an effort to make it not fanfiction, something that could be published, the world building really fucking suffered. I felt like the world was both unoriginal and kind of hard to understand. It was dumped at us very quickly. I feel like hero and heroine were very flat. The characterization just wasn't there for me. Maybe if I gave this book a second chance, I would like it. I know that one of my friends whose opinions I really trust loved this book. I just didn't like it. I didn't enjoy it, and why suffer through something that you don't like? As I often suffer through things I don't like. That will be changing quite soon though. Let me just spoil that for you. Moving on. Wild and Wrangled by Lila Sage. I added this to the list because, not that I necessarily needed a reason to read this book, but I've never had a 5-star read from Lila Sage, and I think she's very talented. So I was like, I'm gonna put this on the list. I'm hoping it's 5 stars. It was a 3-star read. And in fact, I think it's my least favorite from her, which sucks because, again, I do think she's talented. I do like her books, but I didn't like this. It was a second chance romance, the one that got away. You've got Dusty, you've got Cam. They were together in high school, I want to say, and Cam ended up leaving Dusty. He's not very resentful of this, and in fact, he's glad that Cam is back in his life after she is like unceremoniously dumped at the altar. But this one was just pretty flat for me. Like, I can't point to too many things that really pissed me off. I mean, I think overall Cam's character was frustrating. I wish that she had been more communicative. The book was built on a lot of miscommunication. There wasn't anything super standout about it. It wasn't bad, it wasn't great, it just kind of was. And I'm hopeful the Lila Sage book and me can connect more in the future. I haven't heard the best things about Soul Searching. I don't think I'm going to pick that one up, but the next time she publishes a book that people rave about, I will be picking it up and I will be praying that it's a 5-star read. So let's just leave that one there. Similar situation, unfortunately, with First Time Caller by BK Borison. I don't feel as bad about this one though. I felt bad initially because I was like, I love BK. Like, I want to like more stuff from her other than just the Love Light Farm series. Did really fucking like Good Spirits, which is her Christmas book, and I think it's not a surprise because she rocks the Christmas stuff. But First Time Caller wasn't my favorite, and I think the big thing behind that was the hero. So the premise of this book, we've got Aiden, we've got Lucy. He has his own radio show where he gives romantic relationship advice. At this point, he's feeling a little jaded, ratings are down, until Lucy's little sister, Lucy's daughter calls and is looking for relationship advice for her mom, which is very sweet. Lucy finds out about this as her daughter is calling in. It's on the line, and she has this connection with Aiden that is really compelling to people. He is pretty vulnerable, I would say, on the line, and they decide that they are going to try to set her up on a series of dates, and it is going to be for the show, but also for Lucy. And of course, through the process, Aiden and Lucy fall in love. The problem is, I didn't like Aiden. I thought he was kind of not a very nice guy. He wasn't a bad guy, but he was maybe a little too realistic. I feel like he was unwilling to commit and be there when he needed to be for our heroine. Kind of gave me the ick, I'm not gonna lie. And his reasons for doing so are, I don't want to say justified. Like, again, I don't think he's got like a malicious bone in his body. Like, I've read some shitty heroes. I'm thinking Lucy Score heroes, you know what I'm saying? Like, they're just dicks to be dicks. BK's heroes are not like that. That wasn't the problem here. My problem was he just wasn't the kind of swoony, yearning, pining hero that I feel like I've grown accustomed to, you know, in BK's books. So your mileage will vary. Like, maybe this hero will feel realistic to you. Maybe you'll love that. The premise of this book was super cute. I loved Lucy. She was a great character. But overall, this was just kind of like okay for me. So I gave it 3 stars. Next up, another Dementia Mom book, which I feel like is not a nice way to intro a book, but I feel like I want to put that out there in case you don't want to hear about any of this and want to skip ahead. Sounds Like Love by Ashley Poston. I gave 2 stars. This is one that I don't even really want to talk about because I just didn't care. We have a heroine who is a singer. No, she's a songwriter. She's kind of a singer-songwriter, mostly a songwriter, and she has had a lot of luck selling her songs. She loves to do it. The music in her head is kind of dried up now that her mom has been recently diagnosed with early onset dementia. Heroine decides she's going to take a break from songwriting, go from LA to her family's home in North Carolina. When she gets there, she realizes a lot is changing. Her parents' music venue is going to be closing down. Her relationship with her best friend is a little weird and rocky. And additionally, instead of hearing songs she wants to hear in her head, she starts hearing a voice of somebody, and we don't know who it is. We do find out that it is I think, former boy band star, and he ends up coming to our heroine's small town, and they communicate telepathically and also decide that they are going to try to put a song together because they're both hearing melodies in their head, but they want to turn it into a song or something to that effect. I can't tell if this book was simply too ambitious, if it had too much that it wanted to accomplish, or if I just simply felt a disconnect from the story, but we had our heroine trying to connect with her mom, we had a save the town / save the music venue sort of thing, a romantic relationship problem, that's the book that's about the romantic relationship. We had a problem with the best friend, the relationship with the brother. There was so much going on here. I just don't feel like anything really had time to breathe, and I just really didn't care about the romance. It just was so lackluster to me. So that sucks. When you're reading a romance, you want the romance to hit. I didn't like this book. And of all of the books I think that dealt with memory loss, I think this one was maybe the worst. It was just kind of glossed over, glazed over. And maybe that works for you. Maybe that's not a big deal to you, but if it's going to be included, I want it to be handled well. Number 10, where were we? I think number 10, right? Flirting with Disaster, a book that I gave 4 stars. I liked this. I pitched it as Indian Sweet Home Alabama, which is exactly what the fuck it was, set in Houston, which is where I'm from. And I think that probably made this book like higher rated for me, but it was a really fun time. Our heroine is trying to get a divorce from her ex-husband, and while she's there, she like reunites with him during a hurricane, which very Houston of her to write it that way. I just liked this book. I thought it was sweet. I liked seeing this relationship kind of again rekindle the yearning that was there. Part of our hero, he was still obsessed with our heroine, though she had like left him. It was cute. If you've seen Sweet Home Alabama, you've probably seen it all. I mean, that's kind of what the story is, but I think that reading it in this way was even more fun. So I liked it a lot. I would recommend it. Okay. Are we ready for another dementia book? Can't Get Enough by Kennedy Ryan. This I'm so bummed about. This is the last of the books that I really thought was going to be 5 stars. The other books that we're going to talk about, I didn't necessarily anticipate that. They were more speculative, if you will. Can't Get Enough I really thought was going to be 5 stars. I love Kennedy Ryan. I love the series. This book just really let me down. Our main character, Hendrix, is a child-free baddie. She's a businesswoman, and she ends up meeting this guy who is not child-free. He actually has an older daughter. No intention of having any more children, and I feel like that's really what the relationship hinged on. I didn't really feel a true connection between these two. The hero was really nice and supportive and was very there for the heroine. It was like, oh, we're both into business, both don't want kids, we're perfect for each other, and I just didn't really feel that like signature Kennedy Ryan oomph when I was reading the story. Additionally, we have the plotline of our heroine's mother having Alzheimer's or dementia, again, some sort of memory loss. And I do like that our heroine wasn't there, if that makes sense. I like that it was a different approach to this, because I think that a lot of people are in these situations where, hey, I live on a different coast, I want to pay for my parents' care and make sure they're taken care of, but can't just up and leave my job and everything and my whole life. And that was sort of the case here, but I think as a result, felt like it was something that was thrown in and not as much care was taken with it. Which again, feels weird to say about a Kennedy Ryan book, because I love her and I love her books, but this one was just kind of a miss for me all around. I didn't love the romance, didn't love that extra plotline thrown in. Yeah, this is just 3 stars. It was fine. Better than most people's books because it's Kennedy Ryan, but like not a favorite for me. Let's get into speculative territory. These are the books that I wasn't quite sure would end up being 5 stars, but I put on the list anyway. Some of them phenomenal. Some of them fucking sucked. Number 12 is Passion Project by Lyndon Sperry. This on the list because it said Gen Z romance, and there was a focus on mental health. And I'm not Gen Z, and I think this book really proved to me that I am not Gen Z. Our heroine gets so shit-faced at the beginning of the story that she cannot go on a date with the guy she's supposed to go on a date with. He ends up like seeing her that same night though, and is like, hey, why the fuck did you stand me up? And she's like, going through some bad shit. I think her friend dies, and he helps her on this mission to not cure her depression and her grief, but to like help walk her through that. Like, let's do some fun activities together, sort of thing. It wasn't terrible, but I think Promise Me Sunshine did it better. Similar premise, very similar premise. I just didn't vibe with the way this one was written. I felt like our heroine was, I'm just gonna say whiny. That feels very ungenerous. Is that a word? Ungenerous? Not generous, but you get the point. Moving on. Number 13, Gabriela and His Grace by Liana de la Rosa. I fucking loved this. Really liked Isabel and the Rogue last year. It was sort of a surprise, like a sleeper hit for me. Read that for some sort of list video, I think, and it is the second in the Luna Sisters trilogy of books. Each is an individual, standalone kind of situation. Second book I loved because we have this heroine who meets this guy, and they're both doing espionage, and they're kind of working against each other, but also for the same cause, and it is just so fun. And so I was like, you know what? Let's put the third book on the list. Let's put the third book on the list. Hopefully it'll be good. It was in fact good. Gabriela in this book is traveling from England to Mexico to meet her family. Mexico is in a much better place now than it was at the beginning of the book series, and she wants to just connect with her family and help Mexico thrive in its like new government. But when she gets there, she realizes her dad also wants to make Mexico great, and by doing so, he wants to marry her off. And she's like, I wasn't really in the market to be married off, but he tries to convince her that all she's good for is being beautiful. And like, what did she even do in the UK? Did she even help Mexico when she was over there? Because that was kind of why her and her sisters were sent over there in the first place. And they've both married well and are helping Mexico's cause with their marriages. And so our heroine just feels like, God, what is my purpose? Everybody's telling me what my purpose should be, but I haven't even figured it out yet. And I liked that. I liked her journey of self-discovery. I also really liked the hero of this book, Bastian. He is, I think, like a duke, or he's going to become a duke. And he ends up traveling over to Mexico to check on some sort of business interests. And so they're on the same ship together. There's some forced proximity. And I just loved the way that he spoke to our heroine. I just think this author does a really good job at writing heroes who are swoony, who yearn, who speak highly of their heroines. Whenever our hero's father basically says that all she's good for is getting married or like, being beautiful, our hero speaks up for her and is like, no, she's actually done some really good shit. It was really romantic. I love him. I love this romance. I thought it was really great. The only complaint that I had was I wanted maybe a little bit more on-page conversation. I do think a lot of their connection was born turn of not being able to touch each other and then touching each other. Oh, also the conflict at the very end of the book kind of pissed me off. Our hero withholds some information from our heroine that he probably shouldn't have. I don't really care ultimately. It was good. I give it 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. Number 14 is Promise Me Sunshine. This book does the my best friend died, I'm grieving, my life is a mess thing very, very well. I think that Katabasis Stone, generally speaking, really thrives with really hard-hitting topics. It takes some convincing to get me to care for her heroines, but once I'm about midway into her books, I'm like, all right, fuck, you've got me. So this book, our heroine is really grieving the loss of her best friend from cancer. She can't even bear to stay in their shared apartment anymore. She sleeps on public transit. She is doing odd jobs. She has lost a lot of passion for life, and she is nannying a girl at the beginning of the story, and that little girl's uncle is someone who ends up helping our heroine through her grief journey, and they fall in love. And it was just delightful. Love the way that Katabasis Stone writes. I think that she writes really quirky heroines for sure. And if you can get over that, I think you'll really appreciate her very unique voice. I think that she does a phenomenal job at making a story that I don't think anyone else could write in the same way. I just like her books. Her books are a little hit or miss. I think some people will love them. I think some people will hate them. That's totally okay. I actually think that that's better. Honestly, to have an author and a writing style that is so divisive, however you want to say it, I think that that means that you are really staying true to yourself as an author. You have a strong voice, you know what you want to say, and sometimes that's going to work for some people, sometimes that's not going to work for others. I think it's better than being middle of the road, so I loved this. 4 stars, so good. Next up is This Book Will Bury Me. I think this is the only thriller on this list, and I've liked Ashley Winstead in the past. I thought maybe I'd like this one. I thought it was going to be sort of an unreliable narrator situation. I'd heard that this woman has solved a crime and she's recounting solving that crime. Is what the story is about, but it's not really an unreliable narrator situation. It is just detailing and chronicling this woman and I guess people who are involved in true crime. They interact with cases and interact with the real world. And in this case is pretty young. She drops out of college. She's living back home and she gets kind of sucked into this internet culture of true crime. She's on this podcast trying to solve mysteries with other people, and she gets sucked up into this case of trying to solve the murders of a bunch of young women who went to a university, and in the process other young women are also going missing and being murdered as well. I will say I saw the twist coming from a mile away, which was kind of surprising to me. I'm not good at guessing, and I think that that's where this book kind of didn't work for me. It felt a little too contrived, and I feel like this book could have had a lot of good things to say, a lot of good commentary on true crime. I don't think it really went there. It like wanted to say something. I don't know that it actually did. Some people have also called out this author for using a really recent fresh crime as the model for this book. I think the Idaho murders is kind of what these are based on. You know, the young women who got murdered in that house. I think was there a man also who got murdered? That trial is still very much going on, so it does feel a little weird, I think, also to read this story. I don't know how to feel about this one. I gave it 3 stars. I thought it was like fine, but not what I wanted it to be. I wanted it to have like that Gillian Flynn level commentary, but it didn't quite stick the landing or even, I think, go there. Number 16 is Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil, and I put this one on the list solely because toxic lesbian vampires. I also preemptively said in that video, not a huge fan of V.E. Schwab's writing, and I think that was really where this book kind of didn't work for me. In a lot of ways, it reminded me of The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo. This is a situation in which I liked the way that Leigh did it better. I like her writing style a lot better than I like V.E. Schwab's. This one follows Maria, Charlotte, and Alice. They're in 3 different time periods, but because it's vampires, like their timelines kind of converge and their storylines sort of converge. I didn't like Maria. I thought she was kind of a deplorable character, and I think that's kind of the point, but at no point did I really sympathize or empathize with her. I think that's just because of the way that this author writes. I don't think she's untalented or unskilled. I think there was a lot of thought put into this story, but I think a lot of the big meta messages you're supposed to get from this, I didn't really get from it. I don't feel like the takeaway is really there for me. I had to get on Goodreads and see what people were saying about this book to be like, oh, okay. It didn't stick the landing that way for me, and yeah, I think this is probably the last book I'm going to pick up by V.E. Schwab. I just don't like their stories very much. I liked Vicious. That's it. Not gonna like what I have to say about this one. Katabasis by R.F. Kuang. I love R.F. Kuang. I really, really liked Yellowface. I liked The Poppy War. I thought Babel was fine, even if it wasn't a favorite. I have not finished Katabasis, and I'm actually probably going to finish it at some point on the channel. Probably like Patreon channel membership sort of thing, behind the scenes sort of thing, because the vlog is not going super well. Let me just say, it's like hard to get through this book. Thought about, you know, putting this video off and finishing the book and then giving you my thoughts, but I think that this midway point is plenty because I don't think my feelings are going to change much. This book is about a girl named Alice who is going to hell to save her professor so that she can get a letter of recommendation and be seen, I guess, in the magical world. In this world, magic exists and people go to study it. Heroine is specifically going to Cambridge to study magic. This guy who is kind of a piece of shit, as we come to find out throughout the length of the story. He's not a very nice guy, and his death did a bad thing. Do we really need to be bringing him back? Not quite sure. Anyway, Alice, at the beginning of the story, ends up teaming up with this guy named Peter, kind of against her will. He ends up like hopping into the pentagram she made and traveling to hell with her. They're teaming up in hell to try to free this guy. I don't fucking like about this book, and what's really taking me out, I need to stop bringing Leigh Bardugo into everything, but like, what I don't like about the story is that there is so much time spent on these little asides by the characters, them showing that they are smarter than the other person and that they're smarter than us. We're bringing in philosophy, we're bringing in theorems and theories, and we're talking about the different ways that a universe could look, and that's why we can't get to this part of hell right now because of this mathematical theorem. Oh, Dante's version of hell is not actually what hell looks like, and it's actually this version from some obscure fucking person that I don't care about. I don't think that you need to have read or understood any philosophy or anything going into this. I don't think that you are, you know, unintelligent for not knowing half of what is discussed in this book. It feels like a try-hard situation. I don't think that by telling your readers you're smarter than them, you are creating something that is better. That's sort of what I'm left with here. And I think that the Ninth House comparisons are apt because very similar situation. In Hellbent, the second book in that series, you have someone going to hell to rescue someone else. And while I didn't love that book, I preferred the first book in the series, never talked down to, I feel. And in this book, both talked down to, and also like, you are not smart if you don't understand these things. I'm not even talking down to you. I can't even deign to talk down to you. I feel like I'm being a little extreme here. I don't think it's that egregious. I don't like anything about this book. I don't like the characters. I don't like the way the story is being told. I don't find it funny. I don't find it charming. There's a scene where our heroine is in lust part of hell and is like disgusted by sex, and I was like, I couldn't relate less to this. I don't like this book. I don't like this book. And I struggle because I do want to finish this book. I have both the audio book and the physical copy now, but I'm not enjoying it. Not shocked because again, this is I think more in the vein of Babel. I would like to read, I think, more contemporary stories from this author rather than her right into magic. Yeah, ooh, not liking it. And that's not necessarily an unpopular opinion, but a little guilty almost saying it. So let's move on, shall we? Rebel Witch by Kristen Ciccarelli. This is the follow-up to Heartless Hunter, which I loved, and I've actually reread this year. Still a 5-star, that first book. This one though, I wish I could say that it was a 5-star, but it's not. It is not. I give it 3 stars. This book picked up where the last left off, and I don't want to spoil the books, so I can't really say much. Where that one left off on a cliffhanger, it could have gone in a few different directions, right? We learn about these witch queens in the first book. In the second book, we know that we're probably going to get into contact with those witch queens again. Is it just through lore and understanding maybe why they failed the first time? Is it meeting them reincarnated? Like, what are we going to do with these witch queens? And I think that this book chose the least interesting way to handle that plot line. And we also spent so much time with hero and heroine apart. That first book, we are gearing up for a betrayal the entire time. We know that these two are not on the same side, and we know that they're going to kind of butt heads at the very end of this book. That happens. There's too much will they, won't they, I think, in this book. I wanted them to like maybe hate each other majority of the second book and then have some sort of reckoning midway and then get back together. And we just have a hero who can't decide if he wants to kill her or fuck her. And it just wasn't very interesting because it was the same will they, won't they this entire time. And ultimately it just ended up not being that interesting. I also feel like, again, the witch queen plotline, especially at the end, felt a little predictable. Like nothing that I was excited about, which sucked because the first book I was excited about. Maybe not the most original concept, but the execution was so well done. I just expected more from this follow-up. So 3 stars, it was fine. I'm glad I read it, but I kind of think you should just read the first book and not read the second one. Okay? Okay. The Irresistible Urge to Fall for Your Enemy, number 19 on my list. This is another, again, retold fanfiction, or at least that's what I was told by some people, and I'm not actually sure if it's true. This book I actually liked. I quite enjoyed this. I put it down as a less serious retooled fanfiction, and whether or not it's retooled fanfiction, I'm not quite sure, but it was less serious, and as a result was very fun. This book I have been compared to, is it Apprentice to the Villain, Accomplice to the Villain, that whole series, but done well in terms of the humor and just the way the story is told. Our heroine is sort of a healer type. Our hero is sort of an assassin type, and they work for different organizations that are kind of enemies. He doesn't like him, he doesn't like her, but he needs to be healed. He's got some sort of disease that is killing him slowly and will kill him. He goes to her in hopes that she can maybe save him, and they end up kind of teaming up as the book carries on for some other purposes, and it's just so fucking fun. These two are constantly sniping at each other. Some of the lines are just so iconic. I loved this. I thought this was so much fun, and I want to see more from this author in the future. I think this might be her first traditionally published book. It was remarkable. I really, really enjoyed it. I think that not all retold fanfiction is bad. I mean, a lot of the stuff that I've read this year has been bad. one of the retold fanfiction books I read was bad. This was not. This was fun. Let's talk about Alchemised by Senlin Yu. Didn't even start this one. Can I be honest with you? I've read Manacled, but I've heard from a friend who's a big Manacled fan. This book has similar issues to Rose and Chains, which is that by including a new magic system, by trying to contextualize the relationships here, it just doesn't end up working quite as well. And a lot of the built-in canon in that book, that fanfiction, just can't translate into an original work. And I do find that to be the case for some of these books. At least that's what I'm starting to notice. And did I want to commit to reading 1,000 pages of what is kind of torturous? I just wasn't in the mood. Can I be honest? I wasn't in the mood. I am not saying I'll never pick it up, but I think I'm fine at this point saying that I read Manacled and that I liked it and that I'm fine not reading the traditionally published version of it. I mean, let me know, actually, because that's just one person's opinion. One person who I do trust quite a bit, but let me know, I guess, if you have read Alchemized and it's something that you think is better than the original or just as good as the original, because I might be interested in reading it, but am I? Because it's also really fucking depressing. I don't know, but I didn't read it, and I'm fine with that. Next up, we have A Treachery of Swans by A.B. Poranek. Put this one on the list because it was a Sapphic Swan Lake retelling. I think it's YA. I didn't love it. I thought it was fine. It kind of reminded me of, I think, A Dark and Drowning Tide by Alison Saff. We've got Odile, we've got Maria Det. Odile is trying to bring magic back to her kingdom. Her adopted father, this sorcerer guy, is kind of evil. He's kind of mean to her, but she has been convinced that magic needs to come back. And the only way to do this is to steal the king's crown. The only way to do this is to turn into Guy's son's fiance so she can infiltrate the castle. We do with the fiance. We can't just like have her walking around. We can't both be in the same skin. She turns into a swan. She gets turned into a swan. When she's not a swan, she is a human girl, and that is at nighttime. God, I am doing a fucking terrible job at describing this book. Probably because I didn't enjoy it enough to really talk well about it. It was supposed to be sapphic, but for half of the book, one of the characters is a swan. And when she is a human girl, which is at nighttime, never really felt the connection between the characters. Like, apparently they have history, Odile and Marie. I didn't see that. I didn't see it on page. I felt like their recollections of, oh, when we were a youth and we were friends and then you betrayed me. I don't give a fuck. Like, it just was not well done. It was very throwaway, their history. And then the on-page chemistry just wasn't there at all. I also felt like the storyline, I wouldn't say was poorly executed. I just didn't really give a fuck about the sorcerer guy. I wanted the story to be more focused on the two heroines, and instead we're focusing on this old fuck who's not nice. And I mean, like, sure, he could be like the evil bad guy, that's fine, but like, I don't know, I didn't like it. Moving on. Love and Focus by Lila Lee. This is a book that I did enjoy. I gave this one 3 stars because it wasn't perfect, but I did like it, okay? I put this on the list because of the cover and synopsis, and I knew it was sapphic. In hindsight, I probably shouldn't have put it on the list because of the synopsis, because the synopsis I don't think really sold the book to me, but here nor there. It's about Gemma and Celeste. Gemma is tasked with assignment at her job, and it's not that she's gonna lose her job if she doesn't do this assignment, but I think that her job's kind of on the line and she needs to do very well with it. The concept is modern love, so she's going to be interviewing people, modern relationships, whether they're a sapphic relationship or like maybe an age gap or interracial, that sort of thing. She needs someone to photograph or be a photographer for this project who should come in, but Celeste, they used to date in college, and they had this sort of like really nice thing going on until Celeste up and left the country. Like, she just straight up, I think, went to Korea or something. But now she's back and she's taken pictures, and they have to kind of their feelings for each other, work through some old drama with each other, and yeah, I don't know. At the beginning of the story, I wasn't sold. I was a little bit bored, I will admit. Our heroine's also coming off of a long-term relationship. She's couch surfing. She's not having, you know, the best time. When I say our heroine, I mean Gemma, because she's kind of the main point of view in the story. She's in first person. Celeste is in third person, which I think is kind of a weird fucking choice, but whatever. What I liked was the modern love version of this book. Like, the latter half of this book is spent more on this project that they're doing together, and I do think that the relationships that they see don't model their own, but they showed them the acts that they had in their former relationship and or how they could maybe make it work in the future, and I found that like a really nice contrast, nice mirror almost. It was really, really cool, and I also was more convinced of their chemistry as the story went on, flaws, their shortcomings, and, you know, what made their relationship not work, but how it's going to work in the future. And the ending too is really realistic. I think if you're someone who's sick of marriage and baby situations and you want something that feels realistic, even the epilogue of this book, like, they're not at the altar. I don't know, I found it refreshing. I liked it. It was good. Best book ever, but 3 stars. Perfectly great. Next is the last book that I put on this list, if that makes sense. I gave myself room, add books to this list that hadn't been talked about being released, okay? Because we don't know all of the books that are going to be released for a year at the end of the prior year. So I left 2 spots open for other books, and I think that was a very good choice. We'll get to those in a second. Last book that I put on the list, The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. This is a book I put on the list because so many of you loved One Dark Window. Cover was pretty. I kind of felt like it was going to be on a list for list videos, and I was like, sure, for sure, maybe it could be a 5-star read. It wasn't, but it was good. I did actually enjoy this one a lot more than One Dark Window. We've got Sybil and Roderick, and Sybil is a diviner. She and some of her fellow foundlings, these, you know, girls without homes, they live at this abbey and they divine the future, essentially. Each of them is representative of a different god or something like that. And our heroine, again, kind of sees the future, divines the future, and her sisters start going missing, right? Roderick is a knight, and he doesn't really believe in her powers, but he does believe that these girls are going missing, and so he ends up teaming up with her to find these missing women. And the plotline of this book gets a little messy. We've got a gargoyle who's sentient, who talks. We've got, I feel like the best way to describe this book is a Hosier vibe to it. Like, it's a little bit cozy, it's a little bit very spooky, it's a little bit Hosiery. If you, not Hosiery like the kind you know, Hosier, the musical artist, Hosier. The vibes, it's a vibes-based book. If you like vibes, I think you'd like this book. Is the plotline the most remarkable thing ever? No. There an unnecessary cliffhanger at the end that I wasn't a fan of? Yes. I liked this book though. I liked the vibes, I liked the imagery, and I thought Sybil was fine as a character too, which I think is sometimes hard to pull off in books like this when they're vibes-based. Sometimes the heroines can be really fucking irritating. They have no personality. And I think Sybil had enough going on there, so I appreciated that. And Hosier vibes are not just based on like, oh, he's kind of this like boggy man, swamp man, sexy way, and that's what's being infused into the story. The hero of the story gives off mega yearning and pining vibes. A lot of his lines in the story are very quotable. And if you're looking for that and you know what kind of bitch you are, I think it's probably gonna work for a lot of people, so it was good. It was a fun time. Now let's talk about the other stuff, okay? Are they both Ali Hazelwood books? Yeah, the fuck they are, of course. Of course. If I was gonna add 2 books to this list, 2 books that I thought would be 5 stars, they would be Ali Hazelwood books, and I wasn't right about both of them. I did enjoy both of them. So first up, let's talk about the 4-star, which is Mate by Ali Hazelwood. This book's about Serena and Cohen. I went into them in Bride, the first book in the series. They're both werewolves. Serena's like half human, half werewolf. She's a hybrid. And then Cohen is full werewolf. 2 are fated mates, but one of them is rejecting the other. So Cohen feels a responsibility to save Serena because she's being hunted for being a hybrid. We never thought that humans and werewolves could fuck, but apparently they can. Or I think we knew they could fuck. We just didn't know that they could like reproduce. People are trying to hunt her down and study her, and he's like, hey, you rejected me. Here's the thing, don't want you to die. Still kind of into you, sexually at least, you know, enough to care about you not dying. So he helps her not die, and by that I mean he resuscitates her with his cock. Okay, I thought this was good. I didn't think this was amazing. I think there were a couple of things that stood out to me that didn't totally land. I think one is the humor in this book, surprisingly. This humor doesn't always work for everybody. I've never noticed it being a problem. A lot of the times I laugh in her books, and I find her dialogue really great. In this book, the humor didn't totally land. It felt a little jarring, and I was like, oh, is this how her books always are? There's something about it just didn't totally work for me. And then additionally, because of the whole fated mate situation, and because a lot of this relationship was edging, to be honest, a lot of that was like them fighting their sexual attraction for each other for reasons I can't get into. I don't feel like there was as much time spent with these 2 having conversations. It was like, God, I'm really trying not to fuck you, but I'd really like to fuck you. And they do fuck, and it is nice when they do, but before that, I wanted them to talk a little bit more, you know? A little more talky, a little less cocky. Okay, we're moving on. Problematic summer romance. I had a hard time with this one. Not a hard time in liking it. I really enjoyed it. But after reading it, I was like, shit, what's gonna take the top spot on my Ali Hazelwood, you know, tier list? Is it Deep End? Is it this book? I think I've landed on Deep End, but I did really fucking like this one. It's a 5-star. It was juicy and delicious, and I'm so glad that we were, you know, talking about this one last. It's about Connor and Maya. It's an age gap romance. Connor is Maya's older brother's best friend slash coworker slash founder of the company that they work at, and we know that they have had a friendship for a couple of years. Don't really know why that is or why they stopped being friends, but in this book we find all of that out. This book is so well done in so many ways. I think what stands out to me about this one is the way that it's told. I've never seen an Ali Hazelwood book told like this, with the past timeline and the present day timeline coinciding. They're happening together, but side by side. We're getting interspersed chapters. We'll have something happen in present day that maybe doesn't totally make sense, and then we're immediately given past chapter that explains what the awkwardness is there or why that exchange happened in the way that it did, and it is so well done. It is very well done. I'm very impressed with her writing craft in this particular story. It's not even to mention the sexual tension. Oh, bitch. So good. So good. I feel like I should be articulating every little bit, you know? I feel like I should be explaining things well, but we know that I don't have notes for this video, right? All I can express is that it was very hot, very fun, very sexy, and I love a guy who hates himself a little bit. And that happened here, so it worked for me on a lot of levels. I really, really liked this book. Kind of want to reread it every summer because it just gives the perfect summer vibes. It's set in Italy, for fuck's sake. What a time to be alive. Allie Hazelwood, may you always be famous. I am very excited to put more of your books on my TBR for next year. You're gonna show up on my list. 5-star predictions for 2026. Been here a long time. I've been here a long time, like sitting here talking. I've been on YouTube for a long time. And crazy to think that 2026 is coming up so quick. But I leave you. Let me reflect. Some books good, some books bad. That is my reflection. I don't have anything profound to say. I'm not gonna make anything up. What I will say though is that next year, or I guess in a couple of weeks, I'm approaching this video differently. The year that I've done this, I have tried to find new releases that I'm excited about that I think could potentially be 5 stars. But next year, I don't want to read shitty books, okay? Most of the books on this list were not shitty, even if they weren't for me. But I want to go a step further, and I'm not gonna commit to everything I read being a 5-star, but I want more good books in my life. I need more good books in my life. So I'm going to hand fucking craft this list. It is not going to be all new releases. Some new releases, certainly, maybe some Allie Hazelwood on there. Other, you know, authors, and Abby Jimenez. There's one that I'm very excited about from Abby Jimenez coming out, but the majority of the list is going to be books that I've been meaning to read that I think could really be bangers, regardless of publishing year. I know. There's going to be some maybe throwbacks on the list, maybe some shit you've already read and I haven't, but I'm going to take my time. I'm going to take my time and just expect that video coming in a couple weeks. I'm very excited about it. A new approach, a new twist on things, because God forbid 2026 be a reading year like this one. I've almost hit 300 books read, which was my goal, and I'm proud of that, but next year, baby, it is quality over quantity. So buckle up, gear in for that. We'll talk about that in a video probably at the very end of the year where I tell you my goals reading, but yeah, thanks for watching. Love y'all so much. I'll see you in the next one.